definitely need less government.
Different districts with different needs and different problems.
We don't control. We don't have to.
Nobody tells me what I should do or what I shouldn't do.
You don't like the ranking system?
No.
We are playing the game.
That's appalling.
Education in Oklahoma is at a critical point. Either make drastic changes or continue on a path of mediocrity. And just about everyone in the state agrees that changes must be made, from lawmakers here at the Capitol to teachers in the classroom. And maybe just one country holds all the answers to the challenges we face. From the Panhandle to Green Country, Oklahoma's 500-plus school districts serve over 680,000 students. No matter the size or the socioeconomics, each district graded on the same scale. At least one national assessment has found when students were given the same tests, an A student in a high-poverty school would be about a C student in a low-poverty school.
What blood type is this?
So from Jinx
I'll play those guitars.
to Duncan
We are playing the game.
You're drafting one.
and to Hugo.
They're not qualifying that they're different districts with different needs and different problems.
3x to the third.
First implemented in 2012, the state's A through F report card is made up of two distinct factors: student performance and student growth. The state education department says it's, quote, merely a communication tool that lets parents and communities know how local schools are performing. A high grade could mean grants from the state. A low grade, professional development, improvement plans, and likely more state oversight.
I think we definitely need less government.
Superintendent of Jinx Public Schools, Stacy Butterfield.
There are times that the government gets in the way of what educators, many, if not most, have spent a lifetime focused on.
Butterfield's Tulsa area district is often seen as the top in the state, often ranked above Edmond and Union. With over 11,500 students, 37% are on free or reduced lunches, well below the state's average of 62%. The state report card gives Jinx High School an A-, the middle school a B-.
But all in all, if our community wasn't happy with what we are doing or didn't feel like they had a voice or didn't feel like they had an opportunity to contribute, I don't think we would be producing the results that our students and our staff produce here in Jinx.
So Butterfield and staff members like elementary principal Susan Lair want to do away with state tests and create their own tests, ones that meet their district's needs.
We'd like to be able to do more with district assessments versus the standardized assessments. The testing itself, it just takes enormous time away from teaching and learning.
Jinx, like most in the state, administers 35 state-mandated tests in one school year, grades K through 12.
It's stressful. So, we teach kids how to bubble in on a bubble sheet, and that's not how we do school every day. Let's allow, local districts to have local control about how they determine whether students are making growth. It's not about not being accountable, because we all need to be accountable for every single student making growth and learning, but it's just about how we do it.
The Jinx staff isn't alone.
When we have mandates and accountability that's coming from people who don't understand our particular needs, it's not helpful to us. In fact, it's detrimental.
Melanie Hugh is heading into her second year as superintendent for Duncan Public Schools.
This is Americana, and people are very proud of that.
That pride often trickles down to school involvement.
We have a strong mentorship program here.
But the time to have those guest speakers is now harder to find.
Instead of innovation, we've turned to compliance.
In the state's report card, Duncan High School has a C, the middle school a D-. Over 3,700 students make up the Duncan district. 55% are on free or reduced lunches. Data from the National Assessment of Educational Progress shows at least a 40% difference in average reading scores and math scores with child poverty rates.
Our schools that have a higher number of free and reduced lunch students, we struggle on our report card grade.
Hugh points to one Duncan elementary school as an example. Over 95% of students at Woodrow Wilson Elementary are on free or reduced lunches. That school's grade is a D-, just recently raised from an F.
They have a lot of challenges there, so kids come to school not necessarily ready to learn.
Oftentimes we are trying to just meet basic needs for kids before we can even begin the academic side of things.
Principal Lisha Elroy sees many of her students come to school hungry and tired. So to comply with the state's assessment, Elroy and the district have taken unwanted measures.
We have implemented here at Woodrow Wilson some benchmark assessments to prepare our kids, because we feel like if we don't do that, there's major meltdowns on testing week and testing day for those kids if they've never seen it before. And so, but that's not...
You have to beat tests with more tests.
We do, that's right. And so then we start to feel like our kids are just being tested to death. We are playing the state's game.
While that game is being played for at least one school in Duncan,
you're trying to come up with something to make Hugo better.
One entire district has to use nearly the same playbook.
Is it an issue in Hugo?
Just minutes from the Texas line in the southeast pocket of the state, Hugo. A small school with a diverse culture. With 1,100 students, only 103 are not on free or reduced lunches. That means 91% of students in Hugo are in the program. In the classroom, both the high school and middle school are failing the state's report card. English teacher Heather Samus has been in the district for 6 years.
They're wanting one solution for everybody, and that solution doesn't fit everybody. It might fit certain school districts within our state, but it doesn't fit everybody.
A through F report cards.
Right.
Hugo has an F in middle school, F in high school.
Right.
Why do you think that is?
Our district isn't perfect. In any district, you're going to have excellent teachers, you're going to have mediocre teachers, you're going to have teachers that are below par. And we're not different than any other district. We do have some teachers maybe that are a little below par or maybe need some extra professional development, but I'm not blaming it on the teachers either. We're fighting kids coming in hungry because they haven't eaten. We're fighting kids coming in, they've missed a week because they couldn't make it to school because they had to stay with an aunt over the weekend and then the parents left them there and they had no way back to Hugo.
Even State Superintendent Joy Hoffmeister sees the report cards as a flawed system. In 2014, she ran a campaign on getting rid of the report cards. In one report, she's quoted as saying, "We are meeting our obligation and are looking forward to a time when we have a better system, but it will require a legislative change." So what does that change look like? Many point not just outside our state, but our country.
Trust that people want to do good. People want to manage in life. They want to learn and they want to go somewhere in their life. So if you give out trust, you gain more.
Far from the oil fields of Oklahoma, where instead of the wind sweeping down the plains, European cruise ships dock at the port. Welcomed by an assembly of tents at Market Square, and instead of borders shared with Texas and Kansas, Sweden and Russia fill the gaps left by the Baltic Sea. Helsinki, Finland, an energetic capital for the Nordic country of over 5 million people, comparable in size to Minnesota. While the modern core serves as the hub for commerce, it's complemented by the city's historic edge, Senate Square. Anchored by the 160-year-old Evangelical Lutheran Cathedral, tourists from around the world come to snap a picture of the most photographed building in Finland. Even as night falls, the culture of the country is clear. The Finnish take pride in their freedom, embrace equality, and dare to be different. Even in the classroom. Finland has been crowned the rock star of education, shooting to stardom in 2000 when it ranked top 5 in the world in math, science, and literacy. Still to this day, Finnish students rank at the top in Europe. But what can Oklahoma learn from a country that hates tests and whose teachers aren't evaluated? That's exactly why we traveled over 5,000 miles. It's been a long road for Finland to get to the top of the education world. After declaring its independence from Russia in 1917, it wasn't until the 1960s and 70s there was a national effort to raise the standards of education.
So it's social innovation and also for all our kids in order to have the same opportunities than all have.
Based on quality.
Yep.
Aulis Pitkala is the Director General for the Finnish National Board of Education, an appointed position equivalent to a state superintendent. He's been in the Finnish system for years at various levels. He sums up the transformation as going from teacher-centered to learner-centered.
The main point is to make the learner more active, take responsibility of his or her own learning, and to activate them, because learning is a funny thing. Joyful thing.
Yes.
It's an adventure, actually.
That adventure is mapped out here. This maze is Finland's education system. From September to June, elementary students and freshmen are together. High school students can pick from general education or dive headfirst into a career. But the backbone to this entire system, trust. How important is trust?
Oh, it's very important. It's one of the basic values that we have. We don't control. We don't have to. We believe that by trusting the teachers, trusting the principals, trusting the education providers, we receive the best quality of education because they are professionals like we are. We don't believe in standardized testing. We don't believe in monitoring the teachers. We feel that right now, at least, we don't have to do it.
Is that hard sometimes at all?
No.
It's not hard at all?
No.
Annalie Rautiainen has moved through the ranks in education, first as a teacher, now an administrator. And you did hear her correctly. There are virtually zero mandated tests, zero teacher evaluations, and the oversight is left up to the students, parents, and the teachers themselves.
I'm often asked, well, what do you do if you have a teacher who's not up to standards, to minimum standards, for example? Well, that's why there is a principal at school who will help the teacher to get back on the track and help the teacher, maybe to team the teacher with someone else so that teachers can learn from each other. So you support and you help, but you don't really grade or monitor or demand something. It works better.
So we're going to be really looking at who can we exclude.
But grade and monitor can describe our system back home. The highly controversial A through F report cards have been in effect since 2012. Based on student performance and growth, individual schools are given anywhere from an A to an F, then posted online.
What letter does that start with?
For students in the 3rd grade, one test could mean moving on to the 4th grade or being held back. A test that's defended by Oklahoma School Board member Bill Price.
In some schools, 30 or 40% of the kids have gone on to 4th grade without being able to read, and then fallen further and further and further behind, and then ultimately drop out. Now, what are we supposed to do about that? Are we supposed to let that continue from generation to generation? One of the benefits, and I think it's been a tremendous benefit, of the 3rd grade reading law has been that we've alerted school districts that they need to start way before 3rd grade in terms of preventing that problem by 3rd grade.
Davy, go back to your spot, baby.
But Duncan Elementary Principal Lisha Elroy also says students are well aware of what their grades mean for the school's reputation.
It's heartbreaking because there's nothing I can do. That's probably the hardest thing.
Oklahoma state officials created that game that Elroy says she's forced to play. Finnish officials perceive the report cards as more of a stigma for schools.
If you kind of have a system with testing, so actually you are going to get ready for the testing, not for the learning outcomes. What we are trying to avoid is to have ranking lists of schools. Because to think about this equity, so if you had a ranking list, so you have a school shopping system.
So you don't like the ranking systems?
No, it's more fruitful to develop and support than kind of have ranking lists and kind of criticize you.
Since Finland exploded onto the world stage in 2000 as one of the top education systems in the world, the test scores for Finnish students have been on a steady decline on the International PISA test, a test taken every 3 years by 15-year-olds all over the world. Out of about 70 countries, Finland ranked either first or second in math, reading, and science in 2000, 2003, and 2006. But in 2009 and 2012, Finland fell slightly in every category, ranking as high as 5th in the world in science and down to as low as 12th in math. To compare, US has ranked at or below average in every category since 2000. In 2012, the most recently released results, the US ranked 17th in reading, 20th in science, and 27th in math. While Finland still remains the top-performing country in Europe, critics argue the golden years in Finland are now over, and the top results in 2000 were just a flash in the pan.
Well, we haven't been kind of rehearsing for the PISA, like they have done in Shanghai or in Singapore or in that Asian countries. So we've been doing our job as good as we can. So it's not a competition for us.
Still, Finland has implemented changes.
We thought that we shouldn't change anything because it's working quite well. We got to kind of develop the schools and the school system all the time. So not kind of thinking that this is it.
The world is changing very rapidly right now, so we cannot leave the schools to be isolated from the real world. And children's lives have changed.
As the head of early childhood education, Annalie is now leading the effort to introduce an early childhood curriculum that is more similar to Oklahoma's highly praised early childhood program. In our state, children can begin a structured plan at birth, but are upgraded to a different plan at 4 years old. Finnish children traditionally have not started school until they were 7 years old. Now, starting with the 2016-17 school year, Finnish children could start the learning process as early as 9 months old.
Learning through play is one of the key issues in the coming curriculum. It seems to be very exciting to sort of build a learning path from the very beginning, growing as a human being and as a citizen. That's the main core, growing as a human being. Of course, we have the subjects there. We still teach subjects, but transversal skills are embedded in each subject also, so that in every subject the teacher has to make sure that the children learn these transversal, we could call them 21st century skills.
As a socialist country, every family is entitled to daycare, and around 97% of parents take advantage of the opportunity. That's where this new curriculum will be carried out. Then at age 7, that's when the maze begins. For many schools in Finland, like this one, students ages 7 to 16 are all under the same roof, but they don't consider elementary, junior high, or freshman. Instead, it's just comprehensive school. The reason, so teachers can collaborate and students can mature. With hardly any private schools in Finland, each and every comprehensive school is made up of students in its neighborhood and is controlled by the neighborhood. A board made up of parents, teachers, and students. They make decisions like how to spend money from the national board and how to lay out the school's schedule. To help students mature, there is constant interaction between students. Group tasks are often encouraged and initiated by arranging desks in groups of 3 or 4. Students from different grade levels will even work together. For example, first and second graders will spend about 2 hours a day together in class. Even at recess, older students will wear yellow bands to not just monitor, but teach younger students structured play and help them keep active. The National Board requires at least 1 hour of recess a day. The school's board decides how it's broken up, just as long as it happens. Recess is so important here that not much stops them. Not the cold, not the snow, and definitely not even the ice on the soccer field. But the only restriction they really have is if it's 5 degrees Fahrenheit or colder. When the students get back inside, that's when teachers like Peter Riello take over.
If you're very content orientated, it probably means that you forget the skills or they don't get the deserved attention. But if you're skill orientated and wisely use your content, practicing these skills, then you get the both. And my question is, which one is more valuable?
Why do you believe the skills are more important?
Well, if I think about how many facts I remember from my comprehensive education, the answer to your question is quite obvious.
Peteri has spent time in America consulting with school districts in a handful of states, most recently Virginia. What became obvious to him, American education is based on content and testing. Much different than the broad Finnish curriculum that encourages students to decide what's next.
6th grade you have speech, that practice that. After that we go crazy. Which is, we wildly, plan what kind of things we could do with the kids. We ask them, and that's how we plan a project. Whereas what I saw in Virginia is that they have to, it's more detailed in the curriculum that these things need to be done, content level and, skill level, where you have very little freedom of, just going nuts and crazy, which is the best thing in Finland.
So you would describe it as Finnish teachers are just allowed to go nuts?
Well, oh yeah, I can go nuts any day. The curriculum is so broad. If my going crazy is high quality, then I can do it. And I can be free. And that's the greatest thing.
What's your thoughts on the standardized testing? For example, in Oklahoma, we may have more testing than Virginia.
Obviously, being a Finnish teacher, I think that's appalling, to be honest. I saw the stress of the students and the teachers and the principals and the superintendents and the central office up to the state officials thinking about, just the idea that these standardized tests tell us how good the teachers are or who's the better student and how do you rank the schools and all that ranking, competition, it wears people out. And I saw it firsthand. Virginian teachers, they know their curriculum inside out, but that's because of fear of, not fulfilling the needs of the curriculum, which in a sense sounds that that's the way it should be, but the fear factor that comes from the standardized testing and ranking of everybody in, order according to some test results, that doesn't, make sense to me. I was asked, so how are you held accountable? Because it doesn't seem like you're held accountable. And I had to think about it, and I answered that, I'm trusted to be accountable.
All Finnish teachers have a master's degree in education, a rigorous 5-year program. After reading about the Finnish system extensively, Price decided to travel with us to Helsinki. Do you trust the teachers in Oklahoma?
You do to a certain degree. I hate to say it, you trust 90% of the teachers. If you have 5-year professionals that have gone through a teacher training that is as intense as this one, there's greater trust. It's going to naturally evolve that way.
The training is so extensive for Finnish teachers, one teacher is able to be involved with the same students from 1st through 6th grade. This also factors into the Finnish philosophy, don't compete, collaborate. Teachers are given at least 2 hours a week to share ideas, lesson plans, and seek guidance with a team of fellow teachers. Students are also expected to seek guidance from their counselor and others throughout school to find specific fields of interest. 6th graders and up have much more of a say in their classes and projects, including 7th grader Kyoto Airava and 9th grader Mikael Raiskio.
We do more of the group thing. Yeah. We talk in the group about the topic. Because we talk about it, then it sticks into my mind a lot better than if I just write it down on a piece of paper.
It's a bit more engaging. We don't have a lot of homework. I spend like max 20 minutes a day for homework.
Students also get to decide what type of classes to take.
For 8th grade, if you want like woodwork or if you want like another language.
A variety of classes that range anywhere from woodworking to cooking, all part of the framework to prepare each student for the decision they must make in the 9th grade.
I am confident that I can make the decision. I actually never really even considered vocational school an option because I feel like it has nothing to offer me. I really don't know what I should do when I grow up. So high school is giving me some more time to think about that. It's actually the recommended option if you don't know what to do.
That vocational school and high school that Mikael mentions are 2 of 3 options students have once they finish 9th grade. Back to the maze. Once a student finishes the 9th grade, which marks the end of comprehensive school, they get to decide to either go to upper secondary school, 10th grade, or vocational school. About half of students go to upper secondary, the other half or so go to vocational school, and about 1% go to the 10th grade, which is meant for students who just need an extra year. With attendance low and major budget cuts expected, the Finnish National Board may eventually cut the 10th grade option, and that will leave 2 paths for 16-year-old students. Many in the U.S. see the vocational route as groundbreaking, with upper secondary being the more familiar path to Oklahomans. This is what's called an upper secondary school, essentially our sophomore through senior years of high school. Here, students get their general education with an emphasis on either language, science, or math, depending on the school.
Just general knowledge, but this school, as I said, it specializes in languages.
Jeanette Sadikova and her peers typically make the decision to go to upper secondary school because it's the more traditional path for students who want to go to the university. Students will apply to at least 5 different schools based on those specialized fields of study, which can also include areas like arts, gymnastics, and even basketball. Location and family also play a significant role in the application process. Each upper secondary school is controlled by its own school board. The board is made up of about 10 people, the principal, teachers, parents, and students like Jeanette. They meet twice a year. Price calls that site control.
They tend to have control over the school building. That way, a teacher asking to do something doesn't have to ask some distant administrator. They can just ask the principal, and the principal can shift around the schedule, or the principal can provide in his budget, his or her budget, the resources necessary. It adds to the morale of the school, but it is also gives much more of the control to the teachers and to the principal.
Upper secondary school is also considered the safe option for some.
I decided to go to upper secondary school because I didn't know what I wanted to study precisely. So here I have more time to think, and then maybe after the school I know what I want to do.
To help each student find that answer, teachers like Heidi Kohi use one simple word: empower.
I think that one of the future skills to be learned at school is to be responsible for your own studies, for your own future, for everything you do in life. So that is how I say that we should empower our students. So whatever kind of responsibility we can transmit in the classroom, or with homework, or with projects, or whatever it might be. So that's empowering them. And I feel and relate this word.
I think it's useful if they feel that they are empowered to learning, and that they get to learn the things that are interesting and that they want to learn.
How they're able to so freely empower their students comes back to the core of the Finnish system.
I am trusted. Well, I get to plan my own lessons, and I get to grade my students the way I want and the way we decide with the students. In the beginning of each course, we discuss upon the grading with the students, and we get to decide how the course is going to be, how many tests we will have, or what are the projects that we are going to grade. And
you let the students help you decide that?
Yes, I let them decide. Sometimes if we are going to have 2 or 3 or 4 tests, or if they want to do a project and what way they want to put on the project.
For you wanting to do that, did you have to get permission at all?
From who?
I feel that I'm kind of an entrepreneur, working alone, together with many colleagues. So in a way, this is how I see a teacher's job in Finland. So we are kind of entrepreneurs working together with a whole bunch of people, organizing and planning together, empowering each other.
We are allowed to make mistakes. I think that's also a good thing. So if something doesn't go as well, then we learn.
Nobody tells me what I should do or what I shouldn't do. It's up to me to try things out, and if I feel that it was a success, I improve it a bit, I reintroduce it, and then we retry. And if it fails, I modify if I feel that there is something to it anyways, and then we retry. We might fail again, we might learn something new, but we go onwards. So it's like developing ourselves all the time. So that's like empowering us, everyone.
Finnish schools are now trying something different and untying the laces to the traditional learning environment. This classroom is now being used as a test run. Desks and hard plastic chairs are replaced with giant pillows, exercise balls, bean bags, blankets, couches, and stand-up desks. Students are allowed to take notes on laptops and even cell phones, and also listen to music while they take a test or write an essay.
That the students feel that they have the power to learn and the will to learn. I think it's very important that they feel that learning is for them and not for me.
I think that there are so many different types of learners in classrooms, so you have to give a little bit of everything for everyone.
But for everyone in upper secondary school, one task does loom.
Like lurking behind the corner waiting for all of us, also the teachers. So we are all on the same boat.
This is essentially the testing zone, and if you can see behind me right here in red, it reads silence. And that's because students beyond these doors are taking what we refer to as an ACT or SAT. It's their matriculation exam. It serves as two purposes: for them to get into the university, but also that's how the school is evaluated. Technically, this is the nation's only mandated test. It lasts several hours for several days. What is that, taking that test like?
It's scary. For the test itself, you study for like 4 or 5 months and just hope it goes well.
The results are mainly used for a student's entrance into the university, but the results are also accumulated and put online without a letter grade or any label at all. But the scores are often used by students looking to apply to upper secondary schools. Many argue the matriculation exam isn't really a mandated test, though, because only half the students take it. The other half of 16 to 18-year-old students in Finland go to what's called vocational school. The idea is that if after the 9th grade a student knows that he or she wants to have a career in a particular trade skill, this is the route they take.
They get to study like right away and not wait for 3 years in upper secondary school studying like biology when they want to be a plumber. I think it would be a little bit strange if everybody like went to upper secondary school. So I think it's a very good thing that we have this vocational schools too.
Vocational areas of study range from the wrench and pipes of a plumber to the sewing machine and fabric of a fashion designer. Media, catering, and hair design are also offered in the vast list of studies in vocational school. About 75% of the coursework for each student is a student's field of choice. The remaining 25% of coursework is in the core curriculum subjects like those in upper secondary school. But even those subjects are integrated in the field of choice. For a very simple example, fashion students and math, they would be presented with this problem. You have 10 feet of fabric, but only need 8 feet for your dress. How many feet do you cut off? There are very few, if any, pen and paper tests. For example, this hair salon. These hairdressers are essentially juniors in high school, and today's haircut could be their midterm exam. In addition to this real-world experience recreated in the school, all vocational students have an extensive apprenticeship program where they often go out into the field and work alongside an employer who's partnered with the school.
Often they said this was really nice, it was really opening my eyes for the education. Now I understand why I was studying this and this in college.
Marko Antonin is the head of sector, most similar to a principal, for this vocational school in Helsinki. We're standing in the student store. Everything you see around us, made by students and operated by students. Learning how to open and operate their own business is a major piece of their curriculum.
They say it's really motivating for for the rest of the studying time.
One common argument Marco hears from international school officials: how can a 16-year-old be ready to make such an important decision to go to vocational school, and that one decision will likely have a lasting impact?
Some of them are not ready, but I think still more than half is quite ready to make the choice. And if they are not ready, they also, of course, can change the field during the studies, and we also have the counselors and so on.
Any student can alter their course at any time. If a student wants to attend the university after vocational school, all they'll need to do is pass the matriculation exam. But most vocational students head straight into the workforce, using the skills they've acquired throughout what we consider their sophomore, junior, and senior years of high school.
You could do a project that could raise awareness.
The vocational route may just be the highlight of the Finnish system for Hugo, Oklahoma high school teacher Heather Samus.
These kids are asked to make resumes, they're asked to fill out job applications. Our kids have problems with those kind of things. How about doing that in the classroom? How about doing some more authentic teaching in the classroom?
Do you think that's the core of the reform that needs to happen?
I feel it is.
Give them a vocational direction?
Yes, I think we need to give kids other options. Like I said, I don't feel every kid is college bound. And you can not go to college and get a job out there and make twice as much as a teacher makes. You don't have to go to college to be successful. And that's our problem, that we're not telling kids that. And I said, what are you going to do right now? I said, well, I guess I'll just sell drugs. No, that's not a career. Let's look at something else. Not all of our kids are going to be college bound, but let's give them something else.
What do we do first, do you remember?
Samus isn't alone in the state.
We're going to have to change at the philosophy level. We have this idea that if you have a high school diploma, which means that you've accomplished these credits, then you're ready for college or you're ready for the world. And we're finding that we have very good students making it to college and really struggling, sometimes even bailing out in the first year or two. And also we're hearing from local companies that they're having a hard time finding workers that actually want to work. And so it tells me the high school diploma may not be a valuable thing in the sense that they're prepared for life.
Duncan High School math teacher Sam Holte used to be a software developer, but left that field 11 years ago to become a teacher. He wanted to make an impact, but realized the limit of his impact when visiting with a student after class one day.
He said, Mr. Holte, I don't know why I'm in this class. I just want to be a carpenter. And I got it. He was doing upper level math, something he would not use in carpentry. And he had to break out from his day to be in my class just because he had that credit. He had to have that credit. I would like to say, okay, let's teach you more about carpentry. Votech does that. But we can also say, let's show you how to operate a budget. Let's show you how to maybe run a small business. Just those things that are required for life. Can we do it? And the answer is yes, we can.
Benefiting society and creating a better future. That seems to be the universal language.
I think that learning is not based on tests and testing only. It's to give this kind of a sparkle. So again, we go back to empowering people. So give them the means to feel that they can make it through their studies. It's about finding this will to learn and to get onwards with life.
For Peter Yellow, during his visit to schools in Virginia, one moment in particular stands out when he discovered how low the perception is for teachers in America. Many have written Finnish teachers are highly respected, even compared to lawyers and doctors. And the respect is not based on pay. Finnish teachers get paid 3,500 euros a month, which is about $38,700 a year. And while that's still an amount an Oklahoma teacher with a doctorate won't get until their 10th year teaching, it's not much in Finland compared to the lawyers and doctors they mirror in respect. So the respect comes from that backbone of the Finnish education system. It's been described in books that you are heroic as a teacher. But when you hear someone in Virginia say, I'm just a teacher, what's your response?
Of course, it's sad, and I talked with them about it. Why do you say just a teacher? And what I found out, it all comes down to the trust. The idea that, you know, you have to prove yourself all the time to your superiors. I don't have to show proof. They trust me.
But can anything in this wild, vastly different education system actually work in Oklahoma? And what do you want to make sure that Americans understand about it?
Well, freedom. If you want to have a classroom where you take off your shoes and you sit down on the floors and you feel relaxed and you learn better like that, that's freedom.
We need to decontrol the school systems and have the school systems decontrol the classrooms. We also need to help honor the teachers in a million different ways, and especially honor excellence in the classroom. That will add to the trust.
If you are not trusted as an expert, as a teacher, so you get kind of a cynical attitude that then I don't do anything except to be ordered to do something. So it's kind of empower them to do things together. You can't copy the Finnish system. You can't do that because it's so cultural and historical background. I think what you can actually do is try to make the schools as a working places more relaxed, not for testing, for life.
And finally, Finland's culture and economy do play significant roles in its education system, which is why we didn't come here to make a conclusion, but maybe, just maybe, we could start a conversation. In Helsinki, Finland, Justin Dougherty, News 9.